Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to what promises to be one unforgettable night of racing. After a long season of triumphs, heartbreaks, rivalries, and unforgettable moments, it all comes down to this: one final race, one final chance, one final opportunity to put your name on the board. Tonight, we arrive at the legendary Temple of Speed, Monza. A circuit where bravery is rewarded, mistakes are punished, and championships are remembered forever. The championship battles may have been settled, but the constructors are hanging by a thread. One thing is certain: nobody wants to end the season with regrets. So buckle up, settle in, and get ready for one final chapter, one final race of an incredible campaign. This is the season finale from Monza, and you're watching it live. We've got few drivers out, wanting to put their name on the board, test and feel where the grip is, where the braking points are, where they need to downshift, where they need to get to the throttle, and get the optimal line and lap. So Mick has already looked like he has a blunder there, going out on, why is it intermediates and wets? Everybody's out on intermediates and wets, but it's dry on my side. It looks like everybody's retiring. So looks like a technical difficulty again. Yeah, I know something's not right. Everybody on intermediates, and it's dry outside. So we've got one Ghost Dragon out on softs. The rest of the Oaks are on intermediates and wets. I wonder why. Jakey near to the grid. Only one remaining, and everybody's retiring. So we'll head back to the main lobby. See what's going on. Okay, cool. So just doing Q2 and Q3, and for the time being. So that's why everybody went out on slicks to spare themselves some tires. We've got confirmation. So on our way to Q2. No drivers knocked out for now, but we will lose 3 drivers in about 15 minutes. Who will they be? So the Constructors' Championship is as follows. Red Bull with 500 points, then followed by Haas 495. So 5 points between the top 2. Constructors Drivers Championship will be settled tonight. Dreams will be made for one, and dreams will be broken for the other 2. We'll have to see. By about 11 o'clock, we'll find out who will stand on the top step, who will take the most money home. Ferrari in P3 with 424 points, followed by Aston Martin with 284, so no opportunity for them there. Then Williams with 223, then RB with 197, Mercedes with 162, Alpine with 92, McLaren with 89, and Kick Sauber with only 13 points. Q2, 14 minutes, 13 drivers. Only 10 will enter Q3. 3 slowest drivers will drop out, and we'll have one final showdown for Q3. 10 minutes to put your best lap and try get yourself on the podium. Let's head down to our champion, Trompy, and do a flyer with him in the white liveried Red Bull. Top speed for Monza, the Temple of Speed, is going to be roughly about 350 kph, depends on your setup. So, foot to the floor, up the gears, on our way to turn 1. Get ourselves some help here. 100 meter marker ball, board onto the brakes, down the gears, feather the throttle, shift to gear 3, deploys the ERS. No DRS for turn 3 Grande. But there will be, after Lesmo 2, onto the second chicane for this track, turn 4, then turn 5, finishing off sector 1 with a 26.0 on our way to turn 6, Lesmo 1. Late apex here, want to set yourself up for Lesmo 2, which is going to be very critical for traction. DRS right there opens it. An extra 10 kilometers per hour at a 2-stop speed, not a lot, as the downforce isn't a lot used by the cars here. Through to Ascari, turn 9, turn 10, onto the exit, on our way to one of the most iconic turns in Formula 1, Parabolica, one of the longest, 180 degrees turn, 50 meter marker mark, a dab to the brakes, 3 gear shifts. There, that will be the detection line for the DRS marker board. So our current benchmark is going to be a 119.2. Not a lot of margin between P1 and P2. The Constructors' Championship is going to be one hell of a battle by the looks of this. Let's see the gap here to the leader. 24 thousandths of a second. Ragnarok not far behind. Another 10th from P2. Rainon will want to improve on that time of his. He's currently 7.5 tenths behind the pole sitter, Trompy. He is competitive for the Constructors' Championship. Only 5 points separating the top 2 in the Constructors. Haas versus Red Bull. Who will it be? We'll find out. Ghost Dragon still in the pits, not fancying any moves as of yet. Jeski, a bit of a spin there out of turn 2. Traction control isn't going to be a friend if you didn't practice. Setup is going to be one of the most important factors for tonight, as this low downforce and overtaking will not be easy, as there will not be a hole punched into the air in front of you by another car. So it will all be determined by pure raw pace, traction, braking zones, upshift, and on our way to gear 8, Ascari, turn 8, 9 and 10. Don't think this is a flyer for Jeski. This is only going to be an out lap, or is this going to be a flyer? Quite a bit of pace here, but he will catch up as the track evolution ramp up. So track fighting wants to get a fresh pair of tires, so 0 laps on his current tires. Putting on new tires, wants to show the field what he's made of, want to show that he can get on that wide grid box in front of everybody. 5.793 kilometers race circuit. 2 DRS zones, 27 laps, 11 corners and 2 DRS zones. That's what Monza is made of, one of the most iconic tracks in Formula 1. Elevation is only going to be 12.8 kilometers, a little bit of a dip between turn 7 and 9, and then a downwards spiral from 10 to 11 on our way to Parabolica from Ascari. Average throttle use for these drivers tonight is going to be 80.62% of throttle. One of the most throttle averages for the entire calendar. Sector 3 has a yellow flag. Oh, it's a game not doing what it's supposed to. Trompy with an outlap and trying to improve his time. He's not going to be able to improve his position as he's already in P1. So you don't want to be from P11 to P13. You want to get yourself up into the top 10 positions. That will advance you to Q3 and will give you the opportunity to set yourself on pole position. So two drivers not on pace as of yet. Jeski with a 5.4 deficit to Trompy, and Trompy out of Parabolica. He's gonna start his lap. 97% of battery at his disposal, opens the DRS, foot to the floor, deploys 1,000 horsepower beneath him. Then extra 10 kilometers per hour will assist him with the 8 gears onto 50-meter marker board, onto the brakes, down the gears, down shifts to gear 2, feather the throttle in gear 2, short shift to 3, deploy the ERS not too quickly, otherwise that will give you a rush of horsepower to the rear axle and that will make you spin. Gravel left and of the right of you. Don't go too far. Track limits will be enforced by gravel traps at Monza. Lesmo 1, then Lesmo 2, a late apex for Lesmo 1 to set yourself up for Lesmo 2 to get yourself in an optimal position. Oh, that's track limits there. I think that is track limits. All 4 wheels needs to be inside the 2 white lines. Otherwise, your track or your lap will be invalidated. So, what is the tire dig gonna be? Is there gonna be an opportunity for him to go for another fly? No, there won't. As we can see on the HUD at the bottom of the screen, his fuel indicator is flashing, meaning he's run out of fuel. He needs to go into the pits and just wait it out. Q2 is not one of the most important sessions for tonight. Q3 will be determined by our 10 fastest drivers, and we'll find out in about 5 minutes. "13 drivers, only 10 positions available for Q3. Who will have it what it takes to get himself through and have a show run to turn 1 on the front row for the Grand Prix?" Not a lot of drivers out at the moment. Everyone waiting for that 2-minute drop, for the last possible seconds to get themselves over the line and get the best out of the track evolution. Rhino will want to improve on his time now. 50-meter marker, 100-meter marker board, onto the brakes, down to gear 1, then 2, 3, 4, up the gears, foot to the floor, deploys the ERS through the fastest corner of this Grand Prix, or this track, Grande, at 177 kilometers per hour. Purple sector 1 for the second, or for the Haas driver. Currently sitting in P4, Lesmo 1 on his way, 50-meter marker board, a dab onto the brakes. Then Lesmo 2, want to set this up perfectly for the traction onto the exit to get yourself into that DRS position and get yourself top maximum speed on your way to Ascari. 10, 8, 9 and 10 is the next corners he needs to attack. A dab onto the brakes, cut the corner bit there on the entry of turn 8, then also on turn 10. But watch out for that monstrous curb on the inside. That will unsettle your car and will give you an opportunity to put it into the wall. So it will drop out of this lap and will go for the pits, I think. Now another one. Not a lot of ERS at his disposal. Only 25%. Maybe he's going to do one warm-up lap, one cool-down lap, and then go for the fly. 3 minutes left for the session. Almost all of the drivers out. Only 4 remains inside the pit. Trompy already retired. He thinks he's done enough. We'll have to wait and see. Was that a mistake, or was that just pure insight on what he is able to deliver? 1/10 of a second between the junior and senior team. Red Bull. Rhino falls to P5 while Big Red Vigilante dethrones him and puts himself into P4 on the second row. Almost 100% battery generated for Rhino. Will he go for another flyer? Get his eye in, get his markers in, and see where the limit of the grip is for this setup and this track. 3 drivers inside the pit, 1 on an outlap, that will be Death Trap, Big Red Vigilante's teammate. So Parabolica onto the throttle, all or nothing. He wants to get his eye in and get that big trophy for his team. DRS open, only 10 to 12 kilometers added to your top speed, and somebody went past the breaking point there. I think he missed, or just in a hurry to get himself some track time. And on into turn 4, then 5. Only 11 tenths for Monza. Lesmo 1, then Lesmo 2. In the fuel indicator is flashing for the Haas driver, but there is a slow moving RB in front of him, but he gets out of the way. Just after Lesmo 2 opens the DRS, foot to the floor, up the gears, while the fuel indicator is flashing. Only 20% battery at his disposal by the time he gets to Ascari. Turn 8, then 9. Watch out for that big curb on your inside. Deploys the last bit of battery that he has. We're currently on 5% on our way to Parabolica. Needs to get a clean entry and exit out of Parabolica. This will determine your lap. Will it be front row or will it be midfield? And he bails out of that one. I think he saw what he needed to see. And yeah, that's going to be it for Rhino Horn. On our way to Q3, who will be the guys that not make it? So the Aston just manages to get over the line into turn 1, then 2, the slowest corner for this track, only 60 kilometers per hour. The longest turn and the fastest turn. Turn 3, Grande. On our way to turn 4 and 5, the second chicane of this track. Nice entry needed for a clean lap and a clean exit out of turn 5, as there is some gravel. Oh, and we have a spin from Jeski, almost making contact with the Aston of Henas. Will Henas get himself into Q3? Let's see and wait and watch. Lesmo 2, foot to the floor, up the gears, opens the DRS, deploys the ERS, 35% battery at his disposal, leaves it to 30. By the time we get to Ascari, 100 meter marker board, a dab onto the brakes, bit of margin left there on the outside, and he wants to get about 15 to 20% by the time he exits Parabolica to get yourself just that extra bit of top end speed. Enters Parabolica onto the grass a bit with the front axle, and will that be invalidated? No, that's on the limit at Poriga. Will that be optimal, as the car did scrape a bit on the bottom? Henas improves his time but not his position. Missed out by a mere 0.2 of a second. On to Jeski. Jeski doesn't get into Q3. So our drivers that will fall short will be Henas, Ghost Dragon and Jackie. So the night is set. Q3 is on his way. Trompy versus Fighting. The two drivers that wants the constructor. Will Trompy secure the drivers and the constructors, or will his dreams be shattered by the Haas pair of Rhino Horn and Fighting? Mick still in the Mick 007 still in the mix. That's a tongue biter. Mick still in the mix. In P10, quite a bit of pace, but will he come up and show what he's made of in Q3? Drop your predictions below. Who will win the constructors? Who will win the race? And will we have a safety car? Well, it's time for Q3 at Monza. The margins around the circuit are razor thin. One missed apex, one small mistake, one tiny slipstream gained or lost could be the difference between pole position and the middle of the pack. Drivers have one mission: extract everything from the car, leave absolutely nothing on the table. The Constructors' Championship is on the line. With long straights, heavy braking zones, and pressure of a season finale weighing heavily on every driver, we're about to find out who can deliver it when it matters the most. The battle for pole starts right now. 12 minutes, 10 drivers, 3 drivers wanting to secure themselves a Constructors' Championship. The two as driver pairs out of the pits immediately, wanting to get the eye in, see where the grip are, and see where they need to lift, and maybe work as a pair, work as a team, get themselves into a position where they can give themselves and each other some slipstream. And we've got some advertising boards that's being deleted on the left hand side. Everybody out in the pits. 10 drivers, 5.793 kilometers at the disposal. What will be the combination of throttle and braking input that gives you the fastest and most optimal time? Well, it isn't as simple as that. It's mastery of a setup, mastery of a layout, and mastery of keeping your head cool. Let's head down to one of the as drivers, Rhino Horn, practicing a few runs in Q2. So let's see what he's up to, what he has gained, and what he has sawn. 50-meter marker board, onto the brakes, full pressure applied. Down the gears, foot to the floor, up the gears. No DRS for this short straight and turn named Grande. Turn 3, turn 4 on his way as he comes over the top of the small hill, turns left into turn 4, then exits turn 5, leaving a bit of margin onto the curb on the left hand side. Lesmo 1, then Lesmo 2. You want a late apex at Lesmo 1 to set yourself up for Lesmo 2 to get yourself in the optimal position to get the maximum grip on the rear axle. For the DRS zone, that will be assisted to Ascari, turn 8, 9 and 10. You want to clip turn 8 a bit. Perfectly done. Well done. Onto the curb of turn 9, then turn 10. Not clipping it as much as turn 8 as it's a bit more aggressive. Curb on the inside. On our way to Parabolica. Late braking move. Wants to get a late apex to get yourself a higher top speed by the time you get over the line. And this will be a 19.7. What will his teammate do? Moldy with a 119.5. 2 tenths between the two drivers. Let's get ourselves some help here. Trompy at it again. Breaking the 19-second mark. Oh, and fighting spins into turn 4. Fuel indicator flashing, so this will be an aborted run for him. That will drop him probably down to P10-4 now, but there's still 8 minutes remaining. The battle is set for an astronomical fight between the Haas and Red Bull pair. Who will come out on top? Whose dreams will be shattered? 5 points between Haas and Red Bull. Red Bull leading at the moment with 400 points combined between Mick and Trompy. 495 points between Fighting and Rhino Horn. And Tag Fighting gets a 5-place grid penalty. This is a big upset for the Constructors' Championship. Doesn't matter how fast he is, he will not start on the front row. The best he can do is the third row. Big disruption for the Constructors. This makes everything spicy. So strategy will be a big factor for tonight. This will determine who will win the Constructors. A big swing for the Red Bull pair to secure themselves the Constructors and the Drivers' Championship for QMN8. A big upset in Q3. So everything on to Rhino Horn now, as his teammate is gonna be demoted if he gets pulled to P5 or P6. One final race. One final opportunity to prove yourself as a Constructors' Championship. Will Rhino Horn deliver? Or is the pressure gonna build up and be too much? He's in the pits, making his way out. Sorry, beg your pardon. He's on his way in. Gonna get himself some new tires, build it up for an optimal temperature, and hopefully can set himself onto the front row and battle for that win against Trompy. A big upset for Fighting, who showed some promise in Q2, only 27 thousandths of a second behind Trompy. Doesn't matter if he does a 110, he will not have the front row. We were on him when he got the penalty. I wonder if there was a bit of impeding or contact between him and another car. So a few outlaps being prepared now, getting those tires in the optimal temperature and hoping you have the right combination of brake, gear and throttle input to put yourself in the best position to win this race. The Constructors is a big talking point for tonight, but we've still got 13 other drivers, or should I say 9 other drivers, that's hoping for a win, that's hoping for a final showdown to prove themselves. Next season, I'm in. Next season, it's mine. And next season, watch out for me. 9 other drivers that wants the top step, that wants the champagne, and that once they name on the wall. Sorry for the tongue twisting. It's not my best language, English. It's my 20th 20th language I'm speaking. So if there's a bit of analogy I'm not using correctly, I beg your pardon. You're always welcome to help me correctly in the comments. Tag fighting with 1/10 of a second faster than Trompy, 900ths of a second. Will this be an upset? Will this be everything he dreamt of? Will this be a pole position converted into a P5 at the start of the final showdown? Fighting and Trompy a long way off, or a long way in front of the rest of the pack. 4/10 between them and P3. Everybody on outlaps, almost everybody on outlaps. Mick in P9 at the moment. Will he assist his teammate, hold the horse pair back, and see what he can do to secure themselves the big trophy? Let's head down to Trompy, our champion for the season, as he does his final qualifying lap for this season in Q3. The Temple of Speed reaching 342 kilometers per hour, 100-meter marker board onto the brakes in the white liveried Red Bull. Gear 2, as we've seen other drivers get into gear 1 there, feather the throttle, foot to the floor, up the gears, deploys the ERS on our way to turn 3, finishing off Grande at 315 kilometers per hour, on our way to turn 4, 10th behind his current pace. Then turn 5, Lesmo 1 on his way, no margin left onto the exit of turn 5 there, turn 6, then Lesmo 2, turn 7, no margin whatsoever, leaving everything onto the line, everything on the curb, opens the DRS, foot to the floor, up the gears, deploys the ERS on our way to Ascari, turn 8 and turn 8, 9 and 10. One opened the corner there onto the apex, they cuts the apex. Want to watch out for the big aggressive apex curb there at turn 9. Sector 3, Parabolica, the last turn, turn 11. A sweeping right hand, 180 degrees, 360 degrees. Opens the DRS, and that will be a 118.806. Doesn't manage to improve his time, but that will be provincial pole for Trompy, as fighting has a 5-place grid penalty. What will he do? What will he be able to do at the start of the drop of the 5 red lights? We've got a few drivers that needs to get over the line, and Ragnarok improves. Yeah, it doesn't improve. What will Mick do? Will he assist his teammate on the front row, or will he hold back the pair of asses? Reinhorn not getting himself where he wants to be, 1 second behind his teammate. And Mick 6/10 faster than his previous lap, but I think he may have invalidated that lap because he didn't improve his position there. And the Mercedes driver, Jacobs, we didn't see where he finished there. P9, so he didn't improve his position. And on to the final race of the season. Tag fighting. Wish he didn't have that 5-place Grand Prix, because he would have stood on the front grid box and led the drivers on the formation lap. But that's why it's called racing. So it's going to be a 5-minute break, so I can regain my voice and everyone go do the thing, and we'll see you in 5 minutes. So the race will start at 43 minutes past 9. Set your alarms. Don't want to miss this one. For months we've had racing. For months we've had incidences. speculations, driver changes, regulations. But it all comes down to this. The Drivers' Championship may have been set already, but the Constructors is wide open. The stage is set. The grid is formed. The final race of the season is moments away. For months, these drivers had fought through every challenge the calendar could throw at them. They've battled wheel to wheel, chased victories, survived setbacks, and now only one race remains. Ahead lies 27 laps of the Temple of Speed, Monza, one of the fastest and most iconic circuits in motorsport. There are no second chances after tonight. Every overtake, every strategy call, every braking zone could define how this season is remembered. The wait is over. The season finale is here. As the drivers weave onto the back straight, on the way to Parabolica, heating up the tires as best as possible, Will fighting do a daring plunge into turn 1 to get himself in front of Trompi? Or will he play the long game and fight his way through the grid? As we've got 13 drivers on the way down to the grid boxes. Who will win this? Dreams will be made and broken tonight. Thirteen drivers, one goal. The top step. The grid is held at 11,000 RPM, a symphony of pneumatic valve springs and waiting for the drop. It's lights out and away we go in Monza. As Trompi gets a good pull away on the start of this race. Tag fighting up to P5 alongside with the Williams driver, and he spins another setback for fighting, and the wings flow. Mick onto the gravel, onto the outside of turn 2. Trompi a second away from Moldy. Teddy Bear up to P3, Death Trap P4, Ragnarok P5, then Jacobs, the Mercedes driver, from P9 to P6, P7 for Rhino. He wants to climb through the grid. The Alpine driver of Big Red in P8, then Hennas, all the way from P11 in P9 at the moment. Jackie Desi in P10 from the back of the field into the points for him. Trompi needs to get himself clear of the field, set himself up, help his teammate, and get the constructors going the way of Red Bull at the moment. Big swing for the second time this evening for Red Bull. Tag fighting from P1 to P6. Then at the start to P5, and a massive spin against the Williams to P10. Now he needs to fight. Does the car have damage? No, everything seems to be working fine. So let's see what he can do. Let's get ourselves some stats here. So position changes. The big scorer is gonna be Jacobs from P9 to P6, and the one that lost out the most is gonna be unfortunately fighting to P10. So is he going to go for the lunge? A late lunge on Hennas to the outside. Gets himself up to P9, but it's still a long way to go. Almost 4-5 seconds to the front of the field. Lesmo 2 coming up for fighting. This will be our main focus for tonight. The two Haas drivers against the two Red Bull drivers. Caution in Sector 2. We've got a Williams going slowly, Ghost Dragon. Maybe he's got some damage. Drainahorn wants to get past and get himself as close as possible to the podium positions. to the race leader, Trompy. They want this win. A bit of an oversteer for Rhino on the exit of Parabolica. No battery for him, but how does it look for his teammate? Against the Alpine, on our way to turn 1. A lot of overspeed will be gained by all of these drivers in this train. Will he be late onto the brakes into turn 1? No, he won't. He will tuck in behind the Alpine and wait for another chance. As a death trap falls down the grid, goes wide. As I said in qualifying, this track is governed not only by the stewards, but by gravel. Down the outside for tag fighting on Death Trap. Death Trap went wide at turn 1 and he backs out of that one. Doesn't want to make contact and lose any positions further. But fighting looks like he's on a rampage, cutting through the field like a hot knife through butter. Lesmo 1, a bit of a slip off there for him. Then Lesmo 2 opens the DRS and instantly the Alpine driver goes to the outside, doesn't want to give fighting some slipstream on his way to Lesmo, but I don't think he will fancy a move into Ascari, as he will wait for turn 1. That will be our main focus for all the overtaking opportunities. As their trap falls another position, went wide again at Ascari, as Mick gains a position over Henas gains a position over Death Trap. Trompy far ahead of the rest of the field. Just needs to keep calm, focus on your own race and get this done. Halfway there for him. Fighting, not fancying a move on lap 4 on the Alpine. He's got, let's see what the... So tag fighting is the only one that opted for the softs. He wants to cut through the field. He wants that big trophy. Rhino Horn not far from an overtake on the Mercedes driver of Jacobs. Ghost Dragon hit with a 10-second penalty for corner cutting. That will be, I think, turn 1 and 2, as DRS is available for the Haas driver who doesn't want to burn too much of battery on the way to Ascari, as the overtaking opportunity is not going to be here. There's no big braking move there, only at and he gets a bit of a lot of oversteer out of Ascari on turn 9 on the apex. That sausage curbs will upset your car and throw you to the wall. No DRS for him out of Parabolica on his way to turn 1. There will not be any DRS for Rhino Horn. That will leave him vulnerable to the Alpine behind him. Burning the battery as fast as possible, closing the gap 0.3 of a second into turn 1. Attack fighting heads into the pits. Maybe it's got a bit of damage and a bit of oversteer. What's going on with the Haas driver of Rhino Horn? Oversteer out and in of corners. Turn 3 and 4, no overtaking opportunity for the Alpine there. He wants to wait for the DRS, not into Ascari. Ascari and the DRS zone there, I think, is only there to close the gap. Get yourself maybe for an overtake at Parabolica, but the main focus is going to be turn 1 and 2. Tag fighting, bolting on some hard tires. This will give him some advantage, but not a whole lot, as the hard tire needs to warm up and get on par with the medium tire. Trompy on his way to seal this in the history books. 6 seconds between them. And we've got a big fight out of Parabolica. And moves to the outside for Takmoldi. Whoa, okay, so Happy Teddy Bear is going into the pits. And looks like tire dig is going to be a problem for the drivers tonight, as Ragnarok will move to the inside, and that will only be a fake and not a real lunge for the position. So P2 fighting has started. Ragnarok versus Moldy, but we've got Teddy Bear in the Williams driver that made contact on lap 1, turn 1 with fighting. That's still in the mix here. So there we have our reference. Happy Teddy Bear came out in front of fighting, so fighting still needs to do a bit to get himself on par with Trompy. But by the looks of this, if there's no safety car intervention, no drastic measures being taken by the two as drivers, the Constructors' Championship will be sealed in the favor of the Red Bulls. Mick, and a big oversteer moment for Mick there at turn 9. You need to watch out for that curve there on the inside at Ascari. It grabs the wheel, it helps you to rotate, but at high speeds that grabs the wheel and forces some oversteer, and that needs to be corrected by input on the steering wheel into the opposite side. So Mick also hits into the pit, so it looks like there's a bit of high degradation for the drivers. Happy Teddy Bear is gonna get these positions back that he lost while he went into the pits, but he's gonna have some undercut on Trompy and the rest of the Oaks in front. 7 seconds lead Trompy has built for himself, fighting with the fastest lap on a hard tire. So currently P7, so he's only 1 position behind where he started. Will this be a cut through the field, or will this be a upset of global magnitude for the Haas drivers? Death Trap going a bit wide here and there, and he will have some DRS on his way to Ascari out of Lesmo 2. Or will he? I think there's some damage to the front end plate. No, there isn't. It's just going slow and being careful on the throttle there, but no DRS for him. The detection zone will be between Lesmo 1 and 2, more towards the braking zone or braking point of Lesmo 2. Mick also pitted for a fresh set of hards. Death Trap on a old set of mediums. No battling except for these two. Reinhorn versus Mercedes versus Jacobs. 0.8 of a second into turn 1. No overtaking, no lunge opportunity for him there, as that's a bit too far to make anything happen. But Mick is not far from Hennas, as Hennas goes wide and he gets the overtake done as Hennas heads onto the gravel. Track limits will be exaggerated by grass and gravel on the outside. Very old-fashioned racetrack Monza is. 0.8 between Haas and Jacobs. Tag fighting on his way, cutting through the field. As you can see, the time being dropped between him and Ragnarok. Ragnarok's looking for a big upset over Happy Teddy Bear. Teddy Bear getting a good launch off the line and being the best of all the drivers by the time we exited turn 1. So 3/10 of a second as we head down to Parabolica, where the detection zone is just after you get onto the throttle out of Parabolica. So the detection zone will be by around about here. There's the white line, and that will be DRS 30% battery for Ragnarok. Will he get an overtake done? Will there be a defensive move? No defensive move whatsoever from Happy Teddy Bear, as he will tuck in back onto the racing line and get an optimal exit out of turn 2. But it's not set in concrete yet, as the two drivers will have another fighting opportunity. And we've got an incident here. We've got Desi into the wall at Ascari. As I said, turn 9 and turn 10, very aggressive curbs that will throw you out into the walls. That looks like a safety car or a VSC at most. I think that's going to be a VSC. Yeah, it's VSC. You can see on the board there. Let's see if you can see on other drivers. Trompy, Trompy getting the best out of this situation. Yellow flags, VSC, race neutralized, and getting the benefit of a lesser pit stop. So, 24 seconds lost inside the pits, only 13 seconds lost with a VSC or a safety car deployed. So he will continue his lead. He will not lose anything with a brand new set of white-walled C5 hard tires. So it's a full safety car. Everybody will bunch up and will fighting going back to the pits. I think he went past. So yes, he did. Exiting turn 2. But the safety car will force everybody to bunch up. So a moving restart for this race. Very important for fighting to get this restart on point. Not overtaking anyone before the checkered line. Only overtake them after the line. And hopefully get yourself into P2 or P1 by the time we get to turn 1. But Rhino and Mick will still play a big role on who gets the trophy. It's gonna be a lot of mathematics for us tonight. We should have about 2 or 3 laps of safety car driving through the lap, and then we'll be back up to racing speed. Ghost Dragons hit with a 3-second penalty. That penalty will not be servable inside the pits. I think he got that on the exit of Ascari. The 3-second penalty will only be servable at the end of the race. That 3 second will be added to your race time. So that means if anybody finishes within 3 seconds behind you, you will lose that position. So tag fighting. 1 position up from where he started. Trompy. Still in P1. Rhino on. One position up for Rhino on. Mick. 1 position up for Mick. And Death Trap, 7 positions lost. But not all everything is lost. The grid will bunch up and he will get a second chance at some points. Let's look at the strats for everyone. So currently everybody on hard compound tires. This 2 or 3 laps will give the tires some breathing opportunity. Penalties as follows. Ghost Dragon with 13 seconds. The 10 seconds is servable inside the pits, so that means that you have to stop and be stationary without any mechanics touching your car for 10 seconds. After the 10 seconds, they may then change the tires and front wing if they feel like, and then yeah, you will have gotten rid of the 10-second penalty. So big swing in favor of Red Bull with this intervention of the safety car, as Trompy got a free pit stop. No positions lost for him. What's going on here? They're playing yo-yo racing. So I think this will be the last rotation for the safety car. then we'll be up to racing speeds again. Trompie doesn't want to start the lap too fast as it's a long run down to turn 1. Slipstream is not gonna be that big of a problem for him as with running very low downforce setups, and the hole being punched by the car in front is gonna be much smaller, so the slipstream effect on the cars is not gonna be as adverse as it is at other tracks. So Trompie will let the safety car do his thing, head back into the pits, and he will start warming up his tires and his brakes. So when will he start the lap? When will he get into the throttle? When will he deploy the 1000 horsepower beneath him? Very critical point in the Grand Prix for Trompie here. And we're up to racing speeds as Trompie sends it foot to the floor, up the gears, but the Ragnarok's smelling a P1 for himself here. Trompie covers the inside line here, and no way past for Ragnarok as Trompie makes that car very wide, corner cutting for the Mercedes driver. As Tag Fighting gets alongside his teammate, they don't want to fight here. They are team, and Rhino Horn pulls back. He knows Trompie Fighting is the best opportunity, the faster driver of the pair, and the best possible opportunity for them is to get him in front, get him next to Trompie, and hopefully fight for the win, secure him themselves that Constructors Trophy. Trompie, Rhino made a bit of a mistake there, a bit too hard onto the brakes there, and gave a position up to Big Red there. Through Ascari, needs to be careful on that inside curb of turn 9. We saw a few drivers having snaps of oversteer, even losing the Ferrari driver into the wall on the outside of turn 10. Parabolica, a U-turn, a hairpin if you want to call it, and DRS won't be available for the drivers now, but the next go around we'll have some wings flapping and some extra kph added to the drivers. No overtaking opportunity for any drivers into turn 1 as there's no DRS assistance, but everybody from P3 to P9 within DRS touching distance. Tag Fighting wants this to play into his hand. He's got a bit of an old set of tires on the house, but he's fast and he's leaving nothing on the track. DRS activated for him now as he heads down to Ascari at 340 kph. A dab onto the brakes at turn 8 and then cutting the corner at turn 9. Not too much as you'll have some oversteer and that will throw you into the wall. So Mick hit with a 3-second penalty for track limits. Trompie not seeming to get too close to the driver's head. Is he maybe having some difficulty with some side pod damage or floor damage? But there's an overtake. No, Enos doesn't, or Moldy doesn't want to send the lunch now. And a small oversteer moment there for Teddy Bear, but still manages to keep it within his grasp of control and inside the two white lines. On the exit of turn 5. Then Lesmo 1. Late apex there and set yourself up for Lesmo 2. Cut the corner a bit onto the exit curb. Opens the DRS, foot to the floor, up the gears, deploys the ERS. No overtaking for him here. He's want to save some battery here and deploy it onto the main straight next to the pits. got the corner at turn 8. As we see, a few different driving styles and lines for the drivers, as Moldy totally ignores the curb at turn 9. Will there be an overtake at turn 1 now on lap 15? Moldy is only 3 tenths behind with DRS, with a lot of battery at his disposal. Will there be a defensive move? No. Happy Teddy Bear will wave him through and not think twice. Fighting not seeming to have the pace on the main straight to go for a late lunge. But will there be an opportunity for him at turn 4? Not as of yet. Turn 5. Then turn 6, Lesmo 1. Bit of oversteer. And Teddy Bear goes a bit wide at Lesmo 1 exit. And then this will leave him a bit of vulnerable on our way to a Ascari for the Haas driver of fighting. As Rhino Horn has dropped out of attacking distance from the Alpine driver. Everybody within DRS striking distance from P2 to P7. Jacobs hit with a 3-second penalty 3 laps ago. And Teddy Bear heads inside to the pits, joined by Ragnarok. Is that a wing change or is it going to be tire change? Only tire change. So tire deck is high tonight for these drivers. Deck fighting 3 seconds away from Trompy. Is the light at the end of the tunnel? 10 laps remaining. But Trompy is upping the pace there, as you can see. 1.9 seconds in 1 sector. 3-4 tenths of a second in 1 sector gained to Moldy. And we've got a yellow flag in sector 2. Someone's has spun, or is it 2 drivers that has spun? Only 1 driver. Death trap. So fighting within striking distance of Moldy, but not a lot of battery remaining in his tank. As the yellow light is flashing at the back of Moldy, meaning he's recharging, but DRS assistance will be given to fighting to attack the racetrack, to attack his competitor in P2. Rhino Horn into the pits, Mick into P5. If Mick and Trompy finishes off like this, the constructors will be won by Red Bull. Rhino Horn needs to get himself in front of Mick, and fighting needs to get himself in front of Moldy. 3 seconds between Moldy and Trompy. Don't want to lose the DRS advantage there for fighting. 9 tenths. Not a lot of battery, man. I think there's some damage to the horse out of turn 1, lap 1, as he's losing a lot of straight line speed on the straights there. Getting quite a lot, or maybe his setup is just in the way that he's got some cornering speed and not straight line speed. The fighting, the Trompy made a mistake there as he's lost a few tenths to Moldy. Maybe it's a Ascari. 3 tenths between Moldy and fighting out of Parabolica. Fighting goes into the pits with only 8 laps remaining. So I think that is a wrap up for the season. If there's no major interventions, the constructors will be won by a fair margin for Red Bull. But does Jacobs still have something up his sleeve to get past the Red Bull driver of Mick and demote him to P5? Opens the DRS, foot to the floor, up the gears, and deploys the ERS and the 1000 horsepower beneath him. On our way to Ascari, 4 tenths. Look at the time dropping. Turn 8, cutting turn 9 a bit. No, he doesn't. But turn 10, you need to be careful of that savage inside curb. One monstrous, one mountain of a curb. He wants the overtake done, but not a lot of battery in his tank for the main straight. DRS at his disposal, but not a whole lot. And they both go into the pits. Will Trompy do the one-stopper like Charles Leclerc in 2025? Tech Mully just needs to keep a cool head. And make that Aston Martin as wide as possible. As the Alpine was battling with Rhino Head, and now he's finding himself onto the podium positions. A lot of battery at his disposal, almost 50%. As we head down to the last sector, sector 3. The hard tires should be starting losing grip any time now. And we'll see the lap times falling now. But we've got a few drivers that opted to do another pit stop. And that will be mediums. Yeah, most of them went for mediums and some went for hards. A bit too far for the Alpine driver of Big Red to make any noticeable lunge to the inside at turn 1. Close, but not yet enough. Almost ramming the diffuser and the back end of that Aston Martin out of turn 2. Jacobs in turn 9, also in DRS, scoring himself some 2 points. Almost missing out on DRS, then over the detection line with 9 tenths of a second. Will he get then lunge to the inside of Mick? No, a bit too far for him. A bit too far for comfortability. Short shifts gear 3, then gear 4. Deploys the bit of last DRS he has, and hoping he can get close and alongside Mick at turn 4. No noticeable change for these drivers. As of yet, there's not a lot of fighting going on. But Attack Fighting and Rhino Horn wants to get themselves up the orders, probably to P2 and P3, because I think Trump is a bit too far at the moment, and he's having one dominant race, leading every lap from 1 lap until lap 22. Just needs to bring this white liveried Red Bull home. Big Red setting himself up, 30% battery at his disposal. Will he burn now and get alongside the Aston Martin driver at turn 4? No, he will wait and save up a bit and just keep it close. Oh, and a big wavy oversteer moment for the Alpine driver. Lesmo 1, then Lesmo 2, as the Aston driver is setting up some, and he's into the wall, loses a bit of front wing, and that will be it for Big Red. Not what he wanted to do, but that's why we go racing. So will he go into the pits, fix the front wing, and promote all the drivers behind him? bit too hasty onto the exit of Lesmo 2. Hoping to get an overtake done by the time he gets to Ascari. Backfighting only a tenth behind Happy Teddy Bear into Ascari. Very close into Parabolica, gets the inside line, and 10-second penalty for Big Red, spinning in the pit lane, wending over the line, and Teddy Bear will have the advantage of DRS. He gave the opportunity to the Haas driver, but later on to the brakes, who will be the bravest? Will we have a 2021 Max Verstappen versus Hamilton in situation? No, we won't. The Haas driver off tack fighting gets it done out of turn 2. 4 laps remaining for fighting. 4 seconds to be made to Ragnarok. Let's look at the tyre advantage. Is it set in concrete yet? I don't think it is. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's a bit of commentator's curse. 3 seconds time penalty for tag fighting out of the exit of Lesmo 1. Cut the corner bit into turn 8. 4.6 seconds to Ragnarok. Mick also on his way to get an overtake done. Jacobs with another 3-second penalty added to his race time. Only 10% of battery remaining for Mick, but he will have the assistance of a DRS onto the main straight. Big Red currently out of the points in P11, having a big mistake out of Lesmo 2 on the exit with the DRS open. Little bit of less traction while the DRS is open and at low speeds. But fresher tires, a new mindset, and 1 point to be gained. Ghost Dragon cutting the corner a bit there. He's looking for an overtake, if it's with penalties or without. Mick versus Jacobs. Who's got the most? The square on penalties. So this is for track position. As Ghost Dragon's got 29 seconds penalties behind them. So he won't gain anything if he stays within 6 seconds of them. And Mick goes wide again into turn 8. Teddy Bear within 3 seconds of fighting. Fighting 1 needs to break this 3-second gap if he wants P4. Not as rewarding as P3, a podium position, but position is position. 2.5 seconds to be made on Teddy Bear if he hopes to keep P4. DRS assistance will be given to Happy Teddy Bear out of Lesmo 2, the back straight DRS zone. And with the DRS, that will close the gap a bit at Ascari. And as soon as he gets onto the brake, that DRS flap will close. Cut the corner bit into turn 8, then turn 9, turn 10. You want to, and he takes a big piece of curb, then a bit of unsettlement onto the car there. As you see the rear axle stepping out to the right hand side, almost onto the grass for Teddy Bear. Another DRS assistance for Teddy Bear. Fighting just can't seem to break this toe. Turn 1, then turn 2. Goes a bit wide for Teddy, and he gets a, it almost looked like the car is going to spin out there. 9/10 of a second. Will the DRS be broken? Lesmo 2, 9/10 of a second. Only needs 1/10. 1/10 of a second. No, and the time falls again. But there is going to be some relief for fighting, as he's also got DRS to clear the back marker of Death Trap. That's been having some connections issues by the looks of it. Into a Scotty, needs to cut the corner a bit there. Not too aggressive. On to turn 8, then turn 9, turn 10, finishing off a Scotty with a big sweeping left-hander. Parabolica, 360 turn, long right hand, that punishes the front left tyre. And at the exit, punishes the rear left tyre. Teddy Bear is very close, 5/10 of a second, 20% battery at his disposal. Will he go for an overtake? Well, fighting is going to defend the inside, but who's going to be brave onto the brakes? Fighting is out of position there and can't defend the position without DRS. Was there a mistake for fighting out of the exit of Parabolica? I think there was. That's why the time dropped to 5/10 of a second. Or is the tire deck just that high? I think it's the tire deck that made all the difference there. So P5 and P6 will be the sitters for Haas. The final lap is here. And we've got ourselves a new Constructors Championship. Red Bull, a dominant season, securing themselves the Drivers' Championship for Trompy. And then the Constructors' Championship on the last leg of the calendar. With Trompy over the line, he wins the Monza Grand Prix for 4QM8. Well done, followed by Moldy, the Aston driver. Then Ragnarok with the bottom step of the podium. And then Peter Bear having an excellent race, finishing in P4, then fighting, not managing what he wanted. He had the best overall quality time, best lap time in Q3, but he was hit with a 5 place grid penalty. Would that have made a difference on the final results? We will never know. Rhino Horn not having a bad race himself, finishing himself in P6. Jacobs in P7, then Mick in P8. Henas being promoted to P9. Big Red finishing off our top point scorers with the last point in P10. Then Ghost Dragon in P11. Death Trap in P12. And our only non-finisher will be the Ferrari driver. And with that, the curtain falls on another amazing season. For the opening race to the final lap at Monza, we've witnessed drama, determination, spectacular racing and unforgettable moments that we will be talking about for a long time to come. Congratulations to Trompy and Mick, our champions, and every driver who took part throughout the season. Motorsport is never about trophies. It's about the battles, the memories, and the stories and friendships created along the way. To all my viewers and the drivers, the organizations, stewards, and every viewer who joined us throughout the season, from Monza and from all of us in the commentary box, thank you for being part of the journey. Good night, stay safe, and we'll see you next season.